I know it's gotten to the point now where when you guys see me upload, you know that I'm going to be talking about something shambolic. And unfortunately, once again, within the Tekken community, we've got to talk about some shit that is real shambolic. We've got to talk about some stuff that is unfortunately about as shambolic as you can get. Now, I've said from the beginning that we are a community and we may not always agree on things. We may not have the same religious beliefs, political beliefs, or the way we see society in general. But at the end of the day, we're a community. And as long as people keep their business to themselves, I will keep my business to myself. I won't bother them and they won't bother me. But that seems to be very difficult for people in this community. And unfortunately, we're going to be talking about an individual that had a generational crash out on Twitter. Now, you guys have probably guessed by now, judging by the thumbnail and the title of the video, but it was a Lars player that goes by the name of Hus Lars. And we're going to go over this crash out. I know that there are people in the community that feel very strongly about the LGBT community. And I know that there are people that feel very strongly about right-wingers or Trump supporters. And my message is always the same to these people, no matter what side of the aisle you sit on. It does not matter to me who you take to bed or who you vote for. You show up to a tournament, mind your own business and push buttons, do whatever you want to do. As long as nobody is being harmed in the process, it's none of my business. And anything political, anything that impacts society is not really the place of somebody in the Tekken scene to get involved in. Now, obviously, you can have your beliefs on something, but bringing that into the scene doesn't make sense unless we are talking about people that are literally like harming children, for example, which we've covered with Smash Brothers before. But in the case of simply being transgender or gay, I don't think anybody should be preaching to these people about their personal beliefs. It's none of your business. But unfortunately, that's what we're talking about today. Just to preface that, because my sentiments are exactly the same on both sides. Now, I know people are going to call me a fence sitter for that, which I'm perfectly fine being called because I'm really not interested in playing sides for people. I'm just going to look at a situation for what it is, and I'm going to call it how I see it. Now, in this case, this person seems to hate transgender people, gay people, lesbians, bisexual, queer, just off the basis that that is how they identify or that is who they take to bed, which I think is wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with having these people in the scene. It is as much their scene as it is mine or yours. So we're going to get into the generational crash out and we're going to go through all of it. There is quite a lot to get through here, so I apologize. Maybe you've seen some of it over on Moonsault Slayer's page, but according to the person that sent me over this DMs, Moonsault only covered about 20% of it. So I'm going to go over all of the context that I've got, and I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on this as we go through it, and then you guys can let me know in the comment section below what you think as well. So as previously mentioned, this is from a player called Hus Lars or Hus Usai Lars. The first picture that I've got here is him saying being gay or trans is quite different from being LGBTQIA. I know plenty of gay people who oppose LGBT. LGBT should be opposed and oppressed because it is a satanic cult that negatively impacts societies. Don't be afraid of me, fear God, for eternal hell and flames await the evil. And then there's a picture of Lars there saluting. Now, I've got to be honest with you, Hus, I don't know you personally. I don't have a problem with you personally, but just being objective here, this is an insane thing to say out loud and then post a picture of Lars next to it saluting. You have to understand that somebody that belongs to this community reading that is going to feel very unsafe going to a tournament with you there. And if you don't think so, replace what he said with LGBT with anything that maybe you believe in that you've heard other people don't like and say eternal hell and flames await the evil. Like, dude, that's a bit of a crazy thing to say. Someone responded to him and they said, don't use that picture of Lars, you effing waste man. Actual sick and mentally challenged human being. And Hus replied saying, shut the F up. Eventually we're going to clean the world from trash like you and shove y'all back into the closet. Clean the world of trash like you. Now, Hus, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not too many ways to interpret what you're saying there. Clean the trash from the world. That sounds to me like you want to exterminate them. And that's a big no-no. Obviously, in different parts of the world, people are going to be more or less accepting of people that are in the LGBT community. I personally don't have an issue with people in the LGBT community being in the scene. It is as much their scene as it is ours. I don't mind going to a tournament and sharing that venue with them. Even saying I don't mind is if I have to make concessions for them. It doesn't matter if I mind or not. It is their community, just like it's ours. And just as much as I might say to them, hey, leave these Trump supporters alone, none of your business, who they take to bed and how they identify is none of your business. What your business is to push buttons and beat them in a tournament or a ranked game. And that's it. Using Lars and your Tekken profile to push some hate towards these people is insanity. Now, maybe you're from part of the world that isn't accepting, and that's fine. That's your part of the world, wherever you're from. Like I said, if people are flying to different countries, they have to obey the rules there. And some people are going to be not as welcoming. I know that there's parts of the world that I'm not going to be as welcomed in. It is what it is. I don't go there. And if I did go there, I'd go to very specific areas and I wouldn't dress or do certain things. Kind of like when I went to Japan, it was very welcoming, but we all know that the Japanese are not massive on you having your tattoos out all the time. And there were certain places that I had to cover up and abide by their rules. So as much as I would say to somebody, hey, if you're going over there and they're not accepting of you, just deal with it. You have to deal with the fact that they're in our community, and saying that you want to clean the trash of the world sounds like you want to exterminate them, and that's madness. If a tournament organizer banned you from going to a tournament for that, you shouldn't be surprised. Now, again, I don't know what part of the world you're from, but if you are in America or you're in the UK and they said we can't have you in the venues because you're a danger to the people in here, you should understand why. You can have your beliefs, but spouting this bullshit on Twitter for everybody to see under the guise of a Tekken player is, in my opinion, grounds to get you removed from a tournament. Again, just before anybody's like, oh, Michael, you're supporting censorship, you literally said cleanse the world of this trash, or sorry, my paraphrasing, clean the world from trash like you and shove you back in the closet, bro. Come on, man. Be for real. So not to bore you with some of the more irrelevant parts of it, but he was essentially clashing with loads of different people on Twitter. He was having crash out sessions with loads of different people on Twitter. And one of the people that he went after was a fellow member of our community. He goes by the name of Millie. Probably seen Millie on Twitter. She's got quite a decent following. And he went onto Millie's page, sent her a DM, and the DM reads as follows, and I'm going to have to bleep out some of it. Hello, dear whatever you are. Obviously, I can't say those words on YouTube. You know what they are. Derogatory way to talk about a gay person. Derogatory way to refer to a transgender person. I don't even know if Millie is transgender. It's irrelevant. You've not won in this mass reporting. It was all a trick, deactivated to mock you all into thinking I was suspended. Utter failure, failed against me. Failure to your parents and bloodline. I win. And then Millie said, okay, because what do you say to that absolutely unhinged message? Now, apparently he was removed from Twitter, but it was himself. He did it himself as a bait and switch. I don't know. It all seems very unhinged to me. Maybe just leave these people alone. I don't understand what you want with them. Do you not just want to play Tekken? Why can't people in this scene just play the game and we can argue about the game? It makes arguing about one and dones a lot more fun, don't you think? When you read stuff like this, you're like, the one and done conversation is not that bad when you read stuff like this. So he tweeted out saying, did you actually think that I got suspended? Lamau, look at your face. Here's so much about my opinion that your week is made when you think you got me. I voluntarily will just leave to prove y'all ain't shit. F-Slur can't do shit and haven't done shit throughout history. Well, Hus, to be fair, I think the reason that they care is that you basically alluded to the fact that one day you're going to exterminate them. I mean, if that's not grounds to pay attention to somebody, I don't really know what is. Now, back in January of this year, Tricky Eileen was revealed to be transgender, and I think some members of the community were standing against Tricky for doing this. And so Tricky Eileen put up saying, for those in the back of the class, there are players / creators that suddenly stopped wanting me to exist in their spaces after I came out as trans and LGBTQ+. I am not letting folks pretend there is so secret behind the scene, bad blood created. And then Hus replied saying okay, and Happy New Liam replied saying very weird response. Now, what I would say is that Tricky Eileen has come out as being transgender. I personally don't care. All I care is that Tricky Eileen is good at Virtua Fighter and I can learn. That's all that I want. I don't care. Like, honestly, as long as nobody is trying to push their beliefs on somebody, as long as nobody's harming children, and I hate that we have to say that because it keeps on happening, it doesn't matter. So as far as I'm concerned, in terms of identifying, Tricky Eileen is good in my book. I just want to watch the Virtua Fighter games. And just posting the picture of Saitama saying okay, like, why even post in the first place unless you're trying to be antagonistic? This is what I mean. Like, why go out of your way to antagonize people? It literally makes no difference to you. Where these people stick their bits, who they take to bed, and what they decide to do with their body. It makes no difference to you whatsoever. It should only really be called out when there is harm coming to people. This is a bit of an insane thing to say. So the AF Post says that a recent study published in Oxford's Journal of Sexual Medicine sampling 107,000 patients found that sex change surgery doubles depression rates among gender dysphoric individuals rather than reducing them. Males who underwent surgery had a depression rate of 25.4% compared to, and then I guess it goes into the rest of the study, and he responds saying, either way, good riddance. Dude, like, if people are struggling and that data is accurate, it's not good riddance. Like, you want people to get better. I don't know the ins and outs of the LGBTQ community and how to help people with making them feel like they are in the right bodies. I don't know all of the ins and outs of that. I'm not going to pretend to know. I'm not a psychologist. I don't work in the field of gender dysphoria or gender dysmorphia, whatever they call it. But my beliefs aside, or my lack of understanding aside, I don't want anyone to take their own lives. Like, that's the worst thing. And as somebody that is using religion, it would seem very strange to me that you wouldn't advocate for the best for these people. Now, obviously, I don't want to make this about the whole science behind it, but maybe they're not helping themselves and maybe they're being pushed in the wrong direction. Let's just say you, as a child of God or somebody that is God-fearing, should want to push them in the right direction, not say something like good riddance. Like, what is wrong with people? Is there no way that we can find some middle ground and just get along? Now, there's a screenshot here of someone saying the furry fandom, and they've got loads of emojis there of dogs and cats, and he said, regardless of the animal of their choosing, if they all die, the world would be a better place. I mean, bro, there's no way that you're a religious person and you're saying this. This is insane. You might not like what furries do, you might find it weird, and I'll be honest with you, I don't entirely understand what is going on there, but I would never want them to pass. I don't want them to perish. They're still human beings. We don't necessarily have to agree with people, and we don't have to get on. For you to just be like, they're doing their thing over there. If they're not hurting anyone and they want to dress in animal costumes, that's up to them. Yeah, society might look at it a certain way, but again, they're still human beings, dude. Like, why does what they're doing concern you? Unless what they're doing infringes on what you're doing, which as far as I can see, nobody has. You're wishing for them to go on to a better place. Like, what happened to just pushing buttons? Now, there's more screenshots, and they're talking about politics, and they're talking about some girl in her yoga pants, and all of it is kind of irrelevant when you look at this situation as a whole, because like I said before, it doesn't matter who people in our community take to bed, how they identify, what animal costume they want to put on, or how they want to refer to themselves. As long as they are not harming people, what does it have to do with playing the game? I just don't understand why this happens constantly. Like, we're constantly at odds with each other. And look, I'll be honest with you guys. Obviously, I have been at odds with people as well, but it's always been over the game. When I was being very vocal about Mortal Kombat, it wasn't because of LGBTQ people. It wasn't because of Trump supporters. It was because I thought the game was shit and I spoke about the game. When I talk about Tekken, I don't really talk about people and their beliefs or who they take to bed. I talk about the game. So I've been at odds with people over a video game, but it seems like many members of our community seem hell-bent on attacking each other over religion, over who we take to bed. And it's a shame, because you would like to get to a point where you're just going to tournaments and playing games and not looking over your shoulder because somebody said they're going to exterminate you and everybody like you. But unfortunately, it seems like we've gotten to a point in the fan game community where it's so fractured that everybody is at each other's necks. So what I would say to this Hus guy, or Hussy, or however you say his name, is that you can have your beliefs, but do you have to go attacking people in our community? I don't see this as any different as when it happens on the flip side. If you can go to a tournament and just push buttons and play against these people, you don't need to talk to them, do you? You don't need to be friends with them. You don't need to be buddy-buddy. You don't need to go against your own beliefs. You're just there to play a game. The reality of the situation is that gay people or trans people or lesbians or bisexual, they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to leave the fighting game community. Most of them just want to go to the tournaments like the rest of us. But of course, there are bad apples. And I think it's important to say that, yes, there are bad apples within that community, but there are bad apples everywhere. And although we highlight it, it's not indicative of the entire community. LGBT. So painting them all with one brush and saying things like you're going to cleanse the trash from this world and shove them back in the closet. I mean, like I said, there's not too many ways to interpret that. I don't know. It's just a shame. Like every time I sign on, someone sent me a new story of somebody doing something terrible. And it's not like I'm the police in the FGC or anything like that. I know some people keep on saying that, but I think these things should be called out, because for as much as I've called out people for coming out members of our community for supporting Trump, I think that you should call it down the middle. He's attacking people for what reason? Because they don't see the world the way he sees it, which is funny because you have that same exact argument on the other side, and it's like, hey, we don't see the world the way you do, stop getting onto us. So I guess the message here is just push buttons, dude. Like, I think you've said too much at this point. I mean, the exterminating talk is kind of crazy, so I don't think there's any walking that back. And again, I don't know where you are from, where you rest your head, and maybe that's how people think out there, but the fighting game community is international, it's worldwide. And for as much as we might call things out from the LGBT community, I think it's important to highlight that most people that I interact with from the LGBT community, I mean majority, very high percentage, are normal people just like me and you that just want to play the game. They just happen to be interested in the same sex, or maybe they don't see themselves the way you see yourself. And again, I don't care about all of that. There's a time and place to talk about these things, and it's not within our community. And if you're going to fly to tournaments and you're going to get involved with tournaments that are not maybe in your back garden, and you're going to America, you're going to parts of Europe, you're going to have to learn to get along with these people. Now, I don't know if you're going to get the opportunity to do that. I don't know if you're a tournament player, but if I was a tournament organizer and I saw that, I would not allow you in the venue. I gotta be real. Just like these people that threatened technicals and were saying that if we see him at the venue, you know, we're gonna take him out. If you say you're gonna cleanse the world of this trash, to me it's the same thing. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think about all of that. I'm sorry for bringing you more doom and gloom, but gotta call it down the middle. This is a bit fucked up. I'll catch you guys very soon. Take care and peace.
And if you start recording them, they get pissed off because they're trying to figure out what they try to keep you knowing.
It's because they want to appear and look a certain way, and if you're streaming, you're taking media into your own
hands.
They're the
deep state.
Controlled media that they get. Because Japan is low-key still a
Hillary
communist.
Clinton lives here, dog.
Yeah, I know. It's like North Korea.
That's bad.
It's North Korea here. No, I've been here for long enough. It's North Korea.
In the Senate right now.
They do.
They've been here the last
They do evil behind your back, but only behind your back, not in.
They don't want cameras in their face for the same reason that I don't want a camera in my face when I'm walking around. It is fucking annoying, and IRL streamers are the worst. Now, I'm going to be doing a video on Johnny Somali soon, but I've got to say, although Johnny Somali is a colossal piece of shit and an absolute scumbag, and if you wanted to ever see what trash looks like in humanoid form, that is what it looks like. But IRL streamers in general, not all of them, before someone starts saying it's not all of us. I know it's not all of you, but in general, IRL streamers just tend to be some of the most trashy streamers. Or because people don't want cameras in their face, it's like North Korea and they're communists. Like, you hear the shit that's coming out of your mouths. Stop going to other people's countries and ruining it. I went to Japan. It was lovely. It's my favorite place on the planet. Such lovely people. And these idiot streamers are ruining it for me. And people have messaged me saying, hey, when you went to Japan, why didn't you do a vlog? For this very fucking reason. Pulling out a phone and telling people you are a YouTuber is basically a no-no now, because people like this and Johnny Somali have ruined it for everybody. I want Japan and Korea and these other Asian countries that are very like, they're tame and they're chill and they don't mind people coming over, to give a hard ban to being outside of your selfie stick recording shit. It's gone on too far. These people are going over to Asia to get clout, and they're all scum as far as I'm concerned. Anyone that is partaking in this nonsense and talking down on Asian countries where they're being very hospitable to you guys, scum across the board. But we'll get to that video another day.